So I actually went up to this one lady, she'll never see this, and I saw that she had this material and she started going off like blah, 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 like lecturing me about it. And I was like, oh yeah, I know, I use it. And she's like, what do you mean you use it? It's not available on Amazon. So I like had this like crazy conversation with this lady and she just like, and she like walked away. I was like, okay, like I took it with a grain of salt, but like it was just funny to me. I played with my grandma's dollhouse as a child. Then I went to art school in New York City. Then my miniatures blew up on Instagram and now I'm here. You know, I'm making stuff that people don't usually see. Tattoo studios, dildos, marijuana dispensaries, like that's the stuff that interests me and people's reactions to that. I just love it. It all started when I was a kid. My grandmother had a dollhouse. It was really beautiful. A couple of years ago, she passed away and everyone was drunk because we're Irish and that's how we handle death. So drunkenly, my aunt was like, let's go take a look at it. We found this like little tiny trunk and there was like a handwritten note from my grandmother like to my uncle who made the trunk. He like started bawling. Like he was just crying so much. Yeah, we were just drunk going through dollhouse furniture. It was great. Out of high school, I went to FIT for interior design and I started watching like YouTube videos of like dollhouses and miniatures being made and I was like, oh my god, I should make miniatures again. I subscribed to the original Tiny Cooking channel. Honestly, I loved watching it more for the miniatures that they were using to make the Tiny Cooking. Other than that, it's like so overdone that they've killed it. They've beaten that horse dead.
So I learned about miniatures the day I met Amanda. She invited me to check out her dorm. She turned to me and just was like, before we go in there, I just have to tell you something. I'm kind of obsessed with miniatures. And I was like, miniatures, what is that? And so I walk in and she has this huge dollhouse.
People knew about it, but they were kind of like, why do you have this in your dorm room?
So I'm like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And she goes, wait, there's more. And reaches under her bed or in her closet and starts pulling out bin after bin after bin of just like all these little mini things.
I would definitely consider myself a collector.
That was pretty much our date. We just sat on your dorm floor, like looking at all these miniatures that just like scattered all around us. So it was really cool.
So definitely art school helped. Before that, I used to make miniature book jewelry. I've grown a lot in my skills since then. It used to be more about experimenting and new materials and techniques. Now it's a lot of like reflection, I guess. I always put a bit of myself in every miniature that I make, whether it be like a tiny rainbow flag or, you know, my tattoo shop has a lot of pinup girls. But yeah, I feel like sometimes I get weird looks at miniature shows, like if I'm with my fiance and like we're holding hands or something, or because it is older community, older people are usually more conservative. I do feel like there is some underlying, like, you know what I mean? They've been in the game for like 20 plus years. They've never seen stuff like this. So I think a lot of the older miniaturists are open-minded, but I do see some kind of, you know, resistance when I go to a miniature show. Or, you know, it's a hit or miss. Living in Brooklyn, New York City, Bushwick, whatever, definitely inspires me. Like, a lot of artists live in Brooklyn. Like, there's the Bushwick Collective, there's a bunch of murals everywhere. So I try to put it in my miniatures as much as I can, just because I live it every day. I take the subway every day. I like walk in my neighborhood all the time. I'm working on this mailbox that's literally in real life. It's down the street from me. There's definitely a lot of opportunity and people are so chill here. They're like, sure, be in my gallery, whatever. I'm very fortunate to be like in a good area where art is supported by the city and like There are a lot of grants that are being offered that I'm like applying to. So yeah, very fortunate.
There's just something so human about the miniatures Amanda makes, and the amount of detail that she puts into it and the amount of personality that she puts into it that you can never find store-bought.
Making miniatures, it takes a lot of precision, a lot of expertise, some steady hands.
For example, the ring box was just, it was incredible, and the fact that she included memories that we had, it's really cool.
You know, when I first started, I would get really stressed out, like, oh, it's not perfect, I can't do this. You know, then I realized, wait, what if I just made it like messy on purpose? There are a lot of anal, like, miniaturists who make everything super perfect and awesome and so detailed. I need a magnifying glass to see it. I love those miniaturists too because their miniatures are beautiful. People who can make like super nice, neat miniatures are like my idols. I don't make neat miniatures, so it's just my style. But I think like stuff like that is important because it shows miniatures are like a fine art instead of just like a hobby. Like her bed piece, it's based on a real artwork by Tracy Emin. To me, it's like any other political art piece. Like you really have to look more into it. So I like miniatures like that because they kind of make you think. It's artwork. It's supposed to like evoke emotion, bad or good. For me personally, I like artwork like that, so. I feel like miniatures helps me understand how things work and are put together. It uses like those critical thinking skills that like are so essential. So definitely when I do other things, I have to be super detail oriented and like map out like every single thing. Like I sketch it out, I plan it, I do measurements. I have to do everything to a T. So definitely applies. But I still think tiny cooking is overrated. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. In a year, I've gone from doing my own work to doing commissions for clients like Swarovski. I had to do 4 dioramas of 4 Oscar stages from specific years. Swarovski sent me 11,000 crystals, and you know, they ended up looking great. I had to like take apart one of the dioramas and like stick it in there piece by piece. So I'm sure in one more year even that I'll be like shooting to the top. I love shaking up the miniature world, and you know, I'm not the only miniaturist who's doing that, but I was one of the first. I do see a lot of very like gendered whatever the men at the miniature shows. They think that it's a very like woman's hobby, and that you know, women don't know how to use power tools and like they don't know how to like do wiring and all this shit. Just regular sexism every day. But more than like sexism or homophobia or anything in the community, definitely ageism. I feel like they feel like they're dying out, which literally they are. But I think they should be more open to like fresher ideas. You know, there's a lot of like crazy stuff going on in the world, a lot of hate. And I think just like having an outlet, you know, looking into a miniature world that someone creates to kind of escape that reality is important for me to make for people. When you're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, you know, you'll see news stories and then you come upon like a miniature and then you're like, okay, everything's not so bad. You know, it kind of like lets you escape that horror. There's a lot of stuff going on that definitely like affects me, you know, as an LGBT person, as a woman. And I think it's important to make art that discusses that and, you know, creates controversy, but, you know, addresses issues. And I think a lot of miniaturists, the new wave, the new generation of miniaturists definitely displays that.